Broadcast live.
We out here with the homie Khuli.
Finally, yeah.
Yo, man, it's incredible, man. It's incredible. What an incredible journey, you know. I was, I actually had a chat with Refilwe.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, he called me on the Friday, but I was in the middle of a meeting. I was like, yo, I'll call you though during the week and we'll talk about the music.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to tell me about the album, you know, like, have you listened to Khuli's album?
Did Refilwe hit you up?
Yeah, he hit me up. You know?
Refilwe's like my biggest critic, bro. He's like, I knew, like, if I don't get a review from him, then it's probably Bob. Yeah.
No, he said, it is just so, I'm just so grateful to be listening to a Khuli album and I'm not involved in it.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to it and every track is, he was just blown away by the album. He called me just to say that, he called me just to just mention the album. I hadn't listened to the album yet, you know. Because he literally called me on the Friday morning, or it's Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
So that's how he was like, I think he wanted to tell somebody about this album.
Yeah.
And I had to cut him because I was going to a meeting, and I was like, but then I called him on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we had a long chat, but he was like, nah, I'm studying for my PhD, POC,
Yo, he's deep in the books.
DA, whatever he's studying for, SAP, you know what I mean? And I was like, all right, so he cut me, but we got in the conversation.
Yeah.
And then I bumped into Miss Cosmo on the Saturday, and everybody was like, yo, and it was like, yeah. So it was positive. The vibe was you made it. It was a positive music conversation this weekend. And when I came to the office on Monday, you know, I spoke to a couple of people. Nokulunga conscious like, yo, the Khuli, and we had a conversation about the Khuli album once again, you know.
And that's like the impact I wanted, and that's why I didn't even host a listening session. I don't want any opinions on like, why didn't you? Oh, you should have. You could have. You know what I mean? I was just like, you know, and when this drops, I just want impact. I want everybody to have a conversation about it. But most importantly, my peers. You know, the guys that I came up with. You know, that's what I've been seeing a lot on my timeline.
Yeah. You really took us on a spaceship.
I did.
You took us on a spaceship. And I want to be honest, you know, I mean, for me, with a lot of the Motswako rapping, because the language doesn't always like, it's not my primary language.
So easy on your ears.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You made this, I heard everything.
Yeah.
It's one of those two words where I'm like, what is that? What's that? But like, but I heard everything, you know?
Yeah.
And I listened to it 3 times since it's dropped.
And this was like the first time you actually text me about an album. Say, yo, I listened to the album. I was like, I used to wonder that he actually listened to albums. You know what I mean? I know it's like your job now. But
Yeah.
Yo, but when you dropped that text, I was just like, man, you don't understand, man. It was so overwhelming for me because like the process was the toughest, you know, because it's just like, you know, like your legacy can be a prison sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. I come from Motswako, but I've been in Joburg for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So my language, my tongue has switched a bit.
Yeah.
So damn, I'm gonna lose those fans back at home that feel like, Gauteng, no.
Yeah.
You know, and then I've got those fans who like, but we like this Khuli. And then you got these guys going, yo, but you gotta jump on the new wave, you know, evolve or dissolve.
So many voices.
And you just like, what we gonna do now? You know, and and that's why I had to kind of like cave in for a while, and until I started enjoying the music, that's when everything started kind of making sense.
I mean, we get into it, but like, you know, you talk about, firstly, why is the album categorized under Kwaito? So this was one in our conversations about Khuli this morning in the office. That was it. Why is the album categorized under Kwaito?
Yo, King, you need to fix that, bro. So I mean, it came to my attention, and then it was like, because there's no Motswako category, so this is where we gonna. And then I'm like, okay, cool. If I catch feelings about it, does that sound like I'm throwing shade at Kwaito? You know, I do have some Kwaito influence in the music, like Chico and you know, Basadi and. So I was like, you know what? At that point, you know, so much was also kind of going wrong. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. You could have put that under classical music. I don't care. I just want the music to drop.
You say on the opening, you say, my gift became a curse, celebrating what I prayed for in the club. You have some words of regret regarding Jabba, you know, beyond what we see in the songs and what we know historically with the collaborations. How deep did your relationship go with Jabba? I mean, what does his loss mean to you?
You know, Jabba was like my big bro. You know, I never had a big brother, you know, and to have one in the industry that is like so tough and fickle, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, Jabba gave me my first professional recording experience. You know, when Jabba had the Diki's deal, he used to give me all the gear that didn't fit him, you know what I'm saying? Jabba used to go around and tell everybody I'm his little bro, you know, and at the time, you know, I needed that, you know, and Jabba gave me a lot of jewels. Jabba gave me a place to stay in Joburg when, you know, was a time I remember fresh out of high school, and suddenly there's no guap to go to a AAA or before Vega, you know, and all your dreams are like shattered at the time. So I had this gap year, and I remember we went and stayed at Jabba's place, you know. Jabba introduced us to Squatter. Jabba made us cool, you know, and I'd never had anybody as selfless like that in my life, because I thought, yo, if you're this big, you should have it all to yourself. Why are you dragging all these guys around? So when he wasn't in a good space, it used to mess with me, because he was also just a bit caved in. He wasn't letting anybody in. And yeah, man, that was very tough.
So I guess he played. I mean, I guess he's really the foundation of your career. In Joburg, it's really like the stepping stone, you know. And
he prophesized a lot of the things that I got to experience, you know. And it's crazy because I mean, you have to understand, man. Like, all of this stuff was like almost impossible for Tswana rap to break into the industry in a time when like Kwaito was also at his peak, and you've got this guy that was like a god to me going, "You gonna be bigger." I was just like, nah, I don't see it. And you know, at the time I was like very reserved, very shy. But yo, Jabba used to charge me up all the time. He was my wax on, wax off. He was sensei.
I mean, where were Fukuta the party? Because that's where, and I'm surprised you think I don't listen to joints, because I remember raving about like that joint. And that was before even, I think that was maybe your first solo joint, right? I never knew who was who in Motswako, you know, I mean in Morafe. But I was raving about that joint, and I met you, and obviously I'm at my prime, you know? And I was like, I remember I was like, yo, yo, you know what I mean? And so where were you at that time? I mean, when you were recording for Kutsa, like where were you? I mean, at the time with your relationship with Jabba at the time, where were you recording that?
At the time, this is when you guys jumped on that Omang album, right? Where you gave us that verse. That verse is like in the books.
Yeah, the Smacks verse, yeah?
Your verse and Smacks.
I'm talking about I'm a humble soul. Yeah.
That verse.
Yeah.
One of the realest you've ever wrote, right?
Yeah, thanks, man.
That time, I'm living in Jabba's apartment, no TV, just a small like radio, disc player, and I'm there with Toady and KG and Mulimi. And randomly you guys would drop by, you know, I know Smacks would drop by, Salvin would drop by. And then there was a time when everybody went home, and I remember a time when it was just me and Jabba. And every day I had to go, he'd be like, nah, just stay one more day. We got one more session. And then I started moving with him a lot, and that's why you find that on the Omang album, I think I'm on like 3 joints. Even the joints I'm not on, he shouts me out. So, and I think that was like the beginning of my journey, where you know people got to hear that there's more to Khuli, and that's the moment he also just started like kind of fine tuning and giving me those master classes, and just watching him move in different spaces and studios, and like that was the best. I got best learnings from that.
And I think that like on endurance you talk about like sorry, I got my notes.
Yeah.
I got my notes here. I do my homework. You know what I mean?
I got you.
You know, on endurance you talk about how you weren't supposed to go solo. You know.
Yeah.
So what made you go solo?
After we dropped the Inele album, second album. So we dropped that Maruapula, where the whole trilogy idea, Maruapula, the anticipation, Inele, the revelation, Aine, the revelation, Inele, the celebration, right? And after the second album dropped, you know, the response was a bit lukewarm, you know. Some people got it. I don't know if you gave me a review on that. I don't know if it was you who said the album was too long.
Yeah.
I remember running into Bongani Fasi going, come see me. Let me try tweak this thing.
yeah.
And I didn't know how to feel about it. You know, and I knew he was coming from a good place. But I remember us just being depressed, you know, and just feeling like, yo, we put in so much work and it's not translating. And then Tody was like, you know, if you went solo, no one will ever see that coming. And like going solo was also just like my worst fear. Like I'm used to being like the sniper. I'm the sniper on the roof. That's what I do, and I do it really well. Now to carry a whole song, I don't know about that. Tody came up with the formula, and that's how we came up with Futumatsa. Tody was like A&Ring and like playing manager and producer at the same time. He actually reached out to you after we worked on Futumatsa. He's
I got it from him,
yeah, he was like, we're gonna take our old shit, we're gonna sample our old shit. Don't worry about hooks, I got you with the hooks. You just worry about the bars. And just lay each like one brick at a time perfectly. I got you. He came up with the first beat we worked on. It landed on the Ventilation mixtape. And then something changed, man. And things changed for good. I remember Kaygizm being really scared about. Everybody was scared, like, you know, because it was just like, what does this mean if you go solo? You know, we've spent over 10 years trying to release our first album. If you go solo, you know, that changes the whole narrative. And yeah, so what I was referring to about that was like, it's something I also had to overcome, and I'm glad Tody was selfless enough to go, you should do it. You know what I'm saying?
It's amazing. Yeah,
because it was bigger than just raps. It was just like, you know, you owe it to yourself to overcome the fear of standing alone. I was always the guy who was like, even growing up, just moving from clique to clique. You know what I mean? Just trying to find some sense of belonging. Yeah.
Broadcast live